Hey, so today we are going to install Thinsulate insulation inside. This is a 144 high roof cargo van with no side windows here. We're going to have those put in, so we'll not be putting insulation in that area on either side. We're going to insulate all the major areas and the cross members. We've got two different types of Thinsulate to do this. One is the SM600 and the other is the SM400. The 400 is the thinner stuff, which will be easier to feed into the cross members, I'm told. And then we'll attach it with the 3M90 spray adhesive that I see a lot of people use. Seems to do a good job. So here's where I'm going to do the cutting. We'll measure inside roughly. This is the 600, this is the 400. It's a little bit thinner, kind of hard to tell. And I've heard it expands once it's out. So just put a piece of wood here. We're going to use a cutting wheel, just a crafting cutting wheel to slice it off, and then we'll use scissors to trim it up. I'm going to install it with the black side facing inside the van, so that'll be the part you see. I've seen different discussions about which side is better. One of the reasons I want to do that is because the other side it's pretty rough, and I'm afraid just working on the van interior, it's going to catch a lot of debris and things and get pretty messy. But I've also heard that if you attach this side to the van, it has a better contact, more surface contact with the wall of the van. So I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and go with the black side facing inward. I think it'll work good enough. So that's what we're going to do. Here's the sheet that it comes with. I got this from DIYvan.com. Neat website. They've got lots of different custom parts for Sprinter vans. So this is the 400 and 600 gram. It shows the specs when you get it and the thickness and all that. So, all right, we'll get started. Okay, so I got rid of the sawhorses. That was not a good idea. It's better just to put the Thinsulate on the ground. I bring it up onto a hard surface you can cut on. I used a spare piece of 1x4 to just snip the ends where I measured to as a marking point and put the board up to it. Sliced along it once, got the board out of the way, and then used this craft cutter to go down there like that and cut it. It's harder to cut than I thought, and it's really thick stuff. Once you start working with it, holy cow, you can see my thumb there. It expands pretty good, so I can definitely see how this is going to help with sound and temperature. So anyway, I got this first panel cut, so I'm going to take it inside, and this will go on this back panel right here. All right, so I got this one trimmed and ready to go up onto this panel here. This is the 3M90 spray, and it says to spray it about 4 to 6 inches away and then wait till it gets tacky before you actually install, put the Thinsulate up there. And so it says use the back of your hand and knuckle to test for tackiness, and if it doesn't transfer to your knuckle, then it's good to go ahead and apply the Thinsulate to the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and spray a few areas here. Just shake it well first. That is some weird stuff. It's kind of bubbly. We'll go with that. I think that's going to be sufficient. So we'll wait till it's tacky. I don't know how long that'll take. I'm going to say it's actually good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it. Okay, so I got it tacked up. The 3M90 really does hold it really good. I got a couple of areas here that I thought I could trim that perfectly, but it doesn't really matter because this is all going to be covered in paneling. So really imperfections like that don't really matter, but it's staying just fine. Reason you don't need a ton of glue is because panels are going to cover and hold that in. It's really just to hold it in place until those get put on. So I think it'll do the job. So anyway, on to the other pieces, and we'll keep going. Okay, so learning as I go here. Using a snap line, way easier. Had my son hold one end of it at that end. I made a little snip in the fabric after I measured it. Another snip here, and then snap the line, and use it just kind of like you would on plywood. And then I can just use a craft cutter to wheel right down that line freehand. A lot easier than trying to keep it along a board that was up there. Just given how puffy the fabric is, the board doesn't want to lay real flat. So that's what we'll do. Okay, so this is what the temperature looks like on the Thinsulate 600. And if you go over here, you'll see the temperature go up quite a bit. Look at that. 92.5 to 80.5. So that's pretty good. That's 12 degrees difference right there. Of course, you do that on the whole entire van, it's going to make a pretty substantial difference in temperature inside the van. This is the FLIR iPhone camera add-on. It goes into the lightning port. A couple $100. I'll put a link down in the description. Really neat tool for finding hot spots or cold spots in your house, vehicle, whatever. Anyway, that's all. I'll show you a little bit more here, pan around. Got the other side's done, but there's no sun hitting that side. So it's actually the fabric is heating up from the sun coming in through the back door. So the black is absorbing some heat just from the sun coming in there. Kind of interesting. But over here, the sun on that side of the van is obviously blocking it out pretty good. And I don't know how accurate the temperature is, but basically it's, relevant or relative to the areas that are not insulated. It's a pretty big difference. So it's whenever you go over and only show this panel, the camera adjusts to show you the hot and cold spots within that area. When you back up, it darkens down to show you that it's a lot cooler compared to the rest of the van. For comparison, here's the front. Obviously, windows are where heat's going to come in. Also, that's where the sun is coming in and hitting a floor mat down there, right down there. Pretty neat though to see the areas where you need insulation. There's the roof. Again, the sun's not quite coming around the front of the van. You can see where the headliner starts. So what I found to be the easiest so far, after different methods, is a pair of really good scissors. I'm using some Westcott scissors my wife uses for fabric cutting. May have to replace those when I'm done once the blade is dull. And then the chalk snap line to mark long strips, long cuts. I'm using a 5-pound hammer to hold the end of the snap line down there just so I can do it by myself, not have to get help every time I need to draw the line. Anyway, just hand cutting it seems to work better than the cutting wheel style of cutting method. If you had a better cutting wheel, it might be faster to do that, but mine was just not getting the job done very well, and the scissors just ended up being the better bet. So anyway, just an update on that. Okay, I've got 90% of it done now using only the SM600, and I still have quite a bit left. This is a 40-foot roll, I believe, and so it definitely goes a long way. I have not put any here because this is where an air conditioner is going to go, and I'm going to put insulation on the sides later just so it doesn't get in the way. And of course we'll have windows put in, so that I don't need insulation there. And then this will be where the max air vent goes, so no insulation there. Anyway, I know I've already said all that before, but just making a point that I don't think you need a separate roll of 400. So far I've been able to get the 600 in a lot of the small areas. I have not done the cross members, but there's a hole pretty big right there that I'm pretty sure I can fish it through enough that it doesn't justify buying 400 just because it's a little smaller. That'd be a lot of excess material just for those cross members. So I plan to fish this down in there. I've got some scrap, not a lot. I was trying to make my cuts pretty efficient where I didn't waste a lot of material, and there's just that little pile over there. And honestly, I could go and with what's left here and double up some of these areas because they're recessed pretty far in. I don't know that I really need to. I did shove some more insulation up in that corner where it was a little hotter for some reason. And anyway, it's crazy how it went from being such an echoey chamber to just a dead, from an acoustic perspective, just a dead room. Nothing echoes in here at all, really. It'll be even more so when I get the rest of those up. So really happy with this stuff, though. It expands out to like a probably 1.25 inches when when it's been fluffed up a little bit. As soon as you start working with it, it gets fluffed up pretty big. And so it's about, like say, 1.25 inches on the size there. Sorry, this is really bad. I'm trying to hold the camera. Anyway, but yeah, not a lot of waste here. You know, just little bits, and those could even be stuffed in the little cracks, just so I don't have to throw it away. It'd be great just to go ahead and double up where I can and just shove it in there. Doesn't have to look real pretty. It's going to be covered in paneling anyway. So, but anyway, that's about it. It probably took total, I'm going to guess, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, maybe something like that. Once I figured out how to make the cuts easily, or easier, with big scissors. And honestly, toward the end, I wasn't even using the chalk line. I was just holding the tape measure. If I needed to measure in 3 inches like this, and I would just kind of cut as I go, moving the tape measure as a reference. And that worked really well. It doesn't have to be perfect. Some of these chambers, like in here, you don't even need spray glue. They hold themselves in. The glue's not going to do anything to help that. But the toughest areas are probably the wheel well vents that curve up around, so you have to shove it in that little slot there, but it has to shape the curve of the fender. So not bad. You just take a few measurements and roughly cut it out. Once you get it good, just flip it over and trace it for the other side, because these sides are pretty much identical left to right, so you can duplicate a lot of your measurements. All right, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks.